Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Greet the Week. I'm Jan Moray, and I'm here with my co-host, Mona Duncan, and we have several of our wonderful guests here live with us, so welcome to all of you, and welcome to everybody who joins us later on the replays. And the topic for today is It's Just a Thought. Mona, this is a great one for me, because so many times my mood can go from high to low in just a matter of a few seconds just because of something that I'm thinking. So get us started here.
Okay. And in the little blurb that I put out for you want to read it? What does it say?
I can read it. I'm reading. You're going through your day when something triggers a stream of thoughts: anger, resentment, lack, criticism, fear. How do you handle it? Do you go to a dark place? Would you like to see things differently? Would you like to identify, reframe, make a plan, and smile as you go on your productive way? Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, because I didn't have that right here in front of me. But I've been given some more thoughts. That is not just those negatives. It could be, you're falling in love and that's all you can dream about. Or you have this big vacation plan. Or there's a special event and you have so many to-do lists, but you're not taking care of today's business because you're having those backflashes of what to do.
Uh-huh.
And so I thought today that we would talk about, I have here just to kind of think about and to get your input on, is 3 facts, 2 examples, and maybe another example from you, and then a few suggestions. So I'm asking you to keep me on track here.
Okay, all right.
Okay, we're going to start off with fact 1. Okay, well, fact 1, or example 1, is the fact that it doesn't have to be negative. It can be positive also. It's anything
Right.
that comes up that gives us a distraction from what we're doing in the now. So fact number 1 is that whatever it is that kind of comes to you, it is something that you have previously shoved down, either to deal with later or to not deal with at all. And all of a sudden, it just jettisons right back up here into your right now. So initially, pause.
Okay. So it's the thought or something that happens that brings that thought back up? Is that?
Yes, and we don't even know what those triggers are.
Okay.
Often in like someone that has been abused or raped, sometimes it could be just like maybe a faraway sound that would bring maybe the sound of a zipper. You don't even know, you don't consciously know you hear, but it brings that thought back up.
Yeah.
So whenever those thoughts come up, and it comes up, it's right here, right now, it's in your face, right here, to just pause. And that's something that needs to be consciously, deliberately, on purpose, made a decision.
The pauses, right.
Yeah. And take a breath. I mean, deliberately take a breath. And listen to your self-talk. What am I thinking? And realize that begin to tell yourself that I can handle this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking positive thinking. I'm talking about positive programming. Because it's not just the thinking, we're programming ourselves.
We're forcing ourselves to think a certain way. Is that what you mean by the programming?
Yeah. Part of the program. So fact number 1 is that we've pushed it down, but it's come right back up here and it's right up in this. So fact number 2 is that it's a floater. And as long as that floater, you ever had them in your eyes?
Yes.
As long as that floater will stay a floater until it's acted upon.
So when it's a floater, it's benign? It's just there, but you're not doing anything with it? Or is it irritating?
It's a real thought. It's a real memory. It's a real anger. It's a real pressure. It's a real downer. But it's not debilitating until we act upon it. I mean, go back to the law of energy. You know, a static will not move unless something moves upon it. And if it's in motion, it won't stop until it's moved upon. So as long as it's just that floater, this is fact number 2. Fact number 1, and you know, in that it came back up to bring you into today, came into today because you hadn't done anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
You hadn't settled it. You hadn't, you know, anyway. So it's to remind you. So as long as it's a floater, but remember that law of energy. The thing of it is that our body, well, it wants to keep us alive. Our mind does.
Right.
There's a portion of it that just wants to keep us alive. And so even if it is that anger, fear, resentment, depression, whatever it is, the mind will give a little couple of drops of chemicals to kind of keep you alive, to keep you breathing, so that you won't just stay stuck. And I have heard several of the mind people refer to those little initial chemical drops, the dopamine and the endorphins, as being a selfish chemical.
Oh,
yeah.
Because it keeps us alive, because it doesn't want us to die, so it's selfish.
Right. And so, you know, I mean, I applaud that. I'm thankful for that.
That's right. Well, our body does a lot of things to keep us. You know, we really try to hurt ourselves a lot of times, and fortunately, our body's there to protect us.
Yeah. But the reasoning behind calling them selfish chemicals is the fact that it'll keep you alive until you get home, so that you can pig out on chocolate. Get your high on chocolate. Get your high on, you know, get your high on something.
Have your pint of ice cream.
Right, exactly. Get your high on your ice cream. It'll give you enough to get you over that initial hump. You know, but they call it selfish because not only is it giving you that shot of energy to, you know, to save your life, it is, but because it's just a little bitty shot and it's not sustaining, it also leads to addiction.
Oh.
Because if you do have that temporary high with that ice cream or the cookie or the shot of whatever, or the blast of putting someone down, if you do get a high over that, it sets you up to keep on that negative pathway.
Right. Because that's a behavior that helps you feel good. And so you want to keep feeling good, so you keep doing that.
Right. And so that's why we want to go back up and remember fact number 1 is that you've shoved it down, you haven't done anything with it, but stop and breathe so that you can get into your logical, creative mind. Not go with that
Emotional,
addictive portion.
Yeah. That's hard sometimes to click off that emotional brain and go back to your logical brain. It takes you, and I think that's why the pause is so important there, because that's your signal to let that logical brain come back in.
Right. And the more we practice that, that pausing, that breathing, that pre-programming or reprogramming or self-talk, as long as we use that, then what we do is we have programmed our mind to go ahead and give us those good oxytocin and serotonin, because they are for the long haul. Yeah. They're the chemicals that's for the long haul. So whether we want to destroy and uncreate, you tell yourself, I'm letting go of that offense. You tell yourself, I'm thinking through, I'm making plans for this upcoming event so I can get back to work now. And whether you're wanting to build and co-create, tell yourself, I'm learning to strategize. I'm learning. I am letting my creative mind and my wisdom heart listen to my self-talk and begin to teach me, begin to help me overcome. Right.
Yeah, so, it's just kind of interesting because you do create new pathways in your brain, and you are creating new habits when you don't, in the future you won't have to pause anymore. You can automatically go to the other part because by the pause is you're trying to change your behavior, and instead of jumping to those negative motion or negative actions that you would take, you're stopping to think about it, and eventually you will create your new neural networks that will make that the new normal for you.
Yeah, I mean, that is it exactly. And although you think, well, I pause, and then later, maybe a couple hours later, you may pause again. You think, well, this is a big deal. It's not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the internal that's doing it, and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
And it's, so how we do it is we give it some thought. We sleep on it. We dream about it. But the thing of it is before we go to sleep, we tell ourselves, okay, self, this is what you to dream about. This is what I want you to program to be, more timely, to be, give your creativity a task, because it's always working.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going on down to fact number 3. And fact number 3 is that thoughts become things through 4 venues. You don't just think something, oh, there it is, which would be kind of nice.
That would be nice.
Whatever it is, whether it's an attitude or whether it is losing weight, or what would be so nice if we could just think it and it would happen. But those four venues that those thoughts become things, one of them is our thinking. Duh. I mean, we were just, that thinking is what, or that. Another one is our feelings. The thing of it is whenever those things that would have been pushed down come back up to the right here, right now, that thinking and that feeling, boy, they partner up just like that. They just get together to the thoughts. And I don't mean to always, because everything that we do, either positive or negative, if we do something positive, the destruction of it would be to do it negatively. If we do something in the negative, the correction of it would be to do it in the positively. I mean, that sounds so counterintuitive, but it isn't. As a matter of fact, to be balanced, you have to have a counterweight to balance it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there has to be a counterweight there to bring that balance. Not that we're always in balance, because we're never static.
No. Sometimes we wish we were.
You know what? We really don't.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you get overwhelmed, it's like, just slow down. Let's
Now,
just pause for a minute here.
We can do that. So these 4 venues. One venue is our thought. The other venue is our thinking. The third venue is our action. And that fourth venue, we're aware of the fact that we think, and that we're really aware that that's also part of our right now. But we're not always aware of our physiology. Yeah. And that physiology is where that internal lab technician is mixing together those feel-good,
those chemicals.
And it's whether they're doing the short-term selfish ones that can lead to addictions, or whether it is maybe giving a little bit of initially to take you over, to hold you over till you get to the long-term mechanics.
Fact number 3 is total behavior.
Right. Fact number 3 is, say that again.
Fact number 3 is total behavior.
Yeah.
That's your four components.
It's the total behavior. But as we can see it and how it works, that total behavior, that physiology part, even though it may not seem like an action, initially it would be the mixing of those chemicals. And we mix those chemicals, automatically it happens, based on how we have programmed our internal lab technician to mix it. Mm-hmm. Whether it's for a short high that either gets you out of there or causes more trouble, or whether it's a long sustaining high that keeps you in balance. So the next time you have been misunderstood, And it will happen.
Oh, no, never.
Or, yeah, life is cyclical. Or you think you've been violated, or you have that huge to-do list, or whatever it is that you want to fix. Just look outside and see if it's cloudy, or see if the sun stops shining. And if it hasn't, life will probably go on. It's like Alice in Wonderland. We don't want to be like Alice in Wonderland and fall down that rabbit hole.
Right.
Because, you know, Lewis Carroll, in writing that, he said she, meaning Alice, he said she generally gave herself good advice. In parentheses, followed, that she seldom followed it.
She didn't listen to herself.
She didn't listen to herself, and she had not taught herself, at least not initially, to have those long sustaining good chemicals mixed in. And thus the tale begins. So when random thoughts come to us that are disconcerting, that are it's taking us out of the right now, but those thoughts are trying to take us back to the right now then. And the thing of it is that it seems like it, because it brings it back almost like you were there again. So in those times, think of, or let me give you the picture of a All in the Family cartoon. Are you familiar with that little cartoon?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, it is a husband and wife and 4 children.
Okay.
And they have been the same ages for almost as long as I've been aging. But anyway, it is always, you know, how they handle life and discipline the children and that kind of stuff. And so and it's just a one thing. It's not in segments. It's just the one.
Oh, one. Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking. It's really old. It's a really old.
Family Circle or something like that.
Okay. All right. I got it. Yep.
Anyway, in this picture, Mom is in the kitchen, and she has this little. Well, it's disgust, okay? So it's that little cloud of, oh no. And the little boy is coming out of the kitchen, walking away from where Mom is, and out here's his 3 younger siblings, and he's saying, he's just as happy as a lark. He's saying, did you hear that? I got another thing coming. So we need to be Mom telling ourselves whenever those things come, you got another thing coming. You got another thing coming. Get in there and think it through. So I've gone with the 3 facts. Now I'm going to give you an example.
Okay.
I was working, you know, with the prisoners, and there was 4 counselors that worked with them continually. I was the overseer of the counselors anyway. So there was this one, and there are certain rules that was of the facility that was for the staff as well as for the prisoners, as well as for people that stayed there. You know, with that. Anyway, one of them was your music had to be for your ears only.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could listen to it, you could have the little earphones and carry it around, but you couldn't take it out or anyway. Well, here was this counselor, and she was in her office, which was right next to mine, and oh boy, that music was really loud. She really, you know, turned it up. And anyway, I got up and walked out of my office, and I leaned in and I said, that music is for your ears only. And then I walked back into my office, and her music went off, and I was back to whatever I was doing, because it was no big deal to me, you know. Enforcing the rules to them, like to the staff, as well as I would have to the prisoners. Anyway, she came, stood in the door, and she said, "You are not my mother." And then she went back into her eyes. She slammed the door. And my first thought was, that is not new information. I mean, I know I'm not your mother.
Right.
And
But did she know that she wasn't supposed to play her music loud, that she was supposed to use the
who
earphones?
knows?
Okay.
Who knows?
Okay.
You know. So I'm sitting there and thinking, well, that's not new information. I know I'm not your mother. So over here on my right was a window, and I just sat down, and I was in my chair because she came into mine, and I looked out that window, and there was another house over there that took care of abused women. Shelter was over there, and they normally had cats. I was looking for the kitties, but I didn't see the kitties. But I also noticed that the sky wasn't falling, so I figured out this would pass. So I began to have some compassion for her, because she must have had one of those things that she must have seen. She must have gone back to something that life hurts when mom's not in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And she maybe had not yet learned all the rules of engagement. And that maybe she had not yet accepted the fact that I was her supervisor. And I began to self-evaluate me. What was my attitude like? Now, I really think it was just giving information.
Right.
But I don't think that was the way it was received.
Right.
But what if I did have an attitude? I need to be more aware of that in the future. And then I also wondered if her door had been shut initially when she turned that up, if I would have knocked on it, because she would have been, somewhat. But anyway. And then I thought the other, any thoughts or comments on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole thing with providing information is we don't know how it's going to be received. And, you were just trying to be very polite, like you always are, and just let her know something. And you just don't know how the other person is going to take it. But I think it was very good for you to understand right away that she's got something else going on. Because not everybody would respond in that matter. When she came back saying, "You're not my mother," it could have resulted in more dialogue going back and forth, and you just kind of let that go.
Yeah, but I decided, I'll let it work itself out.
Yeah.
I'll allow her to self-correct, and evaluate.
That's another interesting point, because so many times we think that we do need to set the other person straight and let them know, I was just providing information, and you're just encouraging that argument to continue. Whereas let it go. Obviously you weren't her mother, and obviously you weren't trying to tell her what to do. You were just informing her of what the policy was where you were working. And it's very hard just to let that go. But sometimes that speaks so much louder than if you did argue back with her.
Yeah. I know one time I was up in the office where the desk monitor was up there that has to record whenever people come in and leave and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's where they were, and I was up there doing some copies or doing something. And anyway, he was unkind to one of the residents. And anyway, I mean, I just looked at him. I was over there copying. I was turning and looked at, and so after he looked at me and he says, "What?"
Yeah.
He said, "You think I'm racist, don't you?" And I said, "You know what?" I called him by name, Joe. It wasn't Joe. I said, "Joe, I don't know. I don't know your heart. I don't know your mind. But I can tell you that statement you said was very racist." And then, let them self-correct.
Yeah.
Let them think about it or not think about it, because we just can't fix other people. But we can speak up to a degree.
Yeah.
To a degree. So then I was thinking about maybe giving an example of relationship issues, whether that is marital, whether that is in the office, whether that is your neighbor or whatever. And especially if it's marital, it's, you know, kind of thinking of the solving circle that is in reality therapy and choice theory, that it's not only a discord of one opinion with another opinion, but there are legal issues involved. And that there are many times, you know, there's so many more people other than those two people that are engaged. There's like all the children or the parents of each of the, if it's just two people, you know, their children that they have. There's so many others that are engaged. But, and again, the same thing with in learning lead management in offices, where that you can have a way to work with people or being a counselor or whatever, but on your own, you know, just as we are where we are, that we can find a way to love and accept regardless of, rather than because of. You know, I wrote whenever Dawn and we've been married 53 years. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. And it isn't, oh, wow. I mean, there's a lot of good and a lot of not so good. Yeah. And a lot of lessons to learn there, you know, that I've learned and that we've each learned, because things are so much better now than they were. Anyway, is that I've come to the conclusion, and thankfully I did it early in life, that love is not blind. You know, we often say, well, love is blind, but no, it's not. It's just that we think we can fix the other one. Yes. Because I can remember back, you know, I knew that he had a temper, but he wasn't mad at me, at least not initially. And so it's finding a way to love, to care about, to be respectful of, regardless of, rather than because of. Right. And to mentally reframe your position. Is it family, household, companionship, as opposed to romance and bliss? Yeah. Okay, it can be both. Yeah, yeah. But if you're trying to make it all this.
Well, and you're also believe that both people have to make it work and have to want to make it work, instead of saying, I'm in this as long as you treat me well. Right. Well, who decides what is being treated well? I mean, because something you like is going to be different than what somebody else likes, and who's to be the judge of that? But if you're in it for, you know, till death do us part, you know, we've made this commitment to each other and we're going to do what we can to make it work. That's just, that's tough.
For the long haul, whatever the long haul is.
Yeah.
So it's to find an honorable way to release your idea of this ideal caricature expectations. And to realize that you have faults too. Ooh, are you kidding? But if you only knew where I was coming from. Sometimes if we flip it around and try to understand where the other person is coming from. Yeah. And to respectfully, without dismissing or ignoring, to respectfully try to understand another person's quirks.
Yeah, we all have those quirks. And a lot of times those quirks are what drew us initially to the other person. And then after a while, they get to the point where they're the ones that are rubbing us raw. And but we have to learn. Well, you know, once you change your attitude there, and so, you know, I used to think that was cute. It's not so cute anymore, but it's still who he is. And I love who he is, and so we're just gonna go with it.
Right. So you'd be willing to make reasonable concessions.
Right.
Yeah. Well, one time I thought it was cute. Maybe I wonder if I can get back to that now.
Yeah. Well, maybe not, but not to let it agitate you so much.
But can I put up with it respectfully?
Right.
as opposed to rolling my eyes. You know,
Yeah.
that passage in the Bible that talks about what love is. And one of the things it says is that love is kind and long suffering. And you know what? There was a time that I had that long suffering down to a fine art.
Mm. Mm.
I wasn't being so kind in the process. I mean, I could sigh deeply and roll my eyes, and everybody knew I was suffering. But through a little thinking and seeing that who I was as opposed to who I wanted to be, just thinking who I was as opposed to who I really am. It's not who I want to be; it's who we really
Who you are.
When we know who we really are, we can do those things because it's in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you know, to develop communication skills, speaking your truth as well as listening to understand. All those kind of things. Becoming aware that how you may be demoralizing another to make yourself look good or to attempt to.
Oh, yeah.
And knowing that being right gains nothing when it deepens separation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one to accept, because you think you're right and you have the right, not only the right, but it's your responsibility to let the other person know that you're right. But sometimes it's best just to let it go. And
yeah. So just 3 or 4 little baby steps here. 1, give yourself room to grow.
yeah.
Listen to your wisdom heart. It will not drink the Kool-Aid. And now that wisdom heart may say something to you that sounds like your mom. But don't discount it just because it was your big brother that was trying to force you to do something. Or, you know, listen to that wisdom heart. It's going to be bringing that. It's if you really listen to the wisdom of it, it's speaking in a still small voice.
Mm.
So, and take yourself out of the middle, you know, okay, and begin to go to that balcony position where and look at not only all the others in the fray, but to see you're still in there. But take that balcony position, not to look down on anyone, not even yourself, but to look down and say, ooh, how am I contributing to this? And more equally important, how can I stop doing what I'm doing that is contributing to it, or that may be? And then be aware of your own identity thoughts. And so instead, you know, how often do you say, I'm not this, I'm not that, I don't have, I'm this, I'm that, and begin to reframe it, I'm not that yet. Or that, we'll just go back to giving yourself room to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Good food for thought. Is that, we're out of time. Is that you're finished with everything that you had on your thing? Okay, so.
Well, I never finished, but I'll stop.
You never finished. So we continued. Everything to be continued. So come back again next week for more wisdom and more discussion. So thanks everybody for joining us today, and I will turn the recording and then we'll open the mic for the people who are attending. So thanks a lot and see you next week.